A new league start means, of course, a new Atlas tree. This is going to be my 3.25 Atlas strategy. I'm going to walk you guys through it in case you are interested. Otherwise, stick around. If you want to have some time codes, you can check out those in the description box below. And make sure to leave a like. But yes, welcome back, Cringe Crusaders. The name is Wolf. And we're going to start at the very beginning. The bare necessities, as they say. There are still some people out there who do not know the Kirik map tech. We'll go through it in just a second, but let's start at the beginning. We're going to go through the middle, and we're going along the right side to rush the commissioned officer node. Map progression is very important, and this is going to help tremendously. The reason why is because Kirik missions can act as a pseudo scouting report. If you do a Kirik mission, it kind of re-rolls everything, right? Including, but not limited, to the yellow missions as well as the red missions, which means you might get maps you haven't completed yet that might facilitate the progression of your Atlas tree. So it's very, very important to get this as soon as possible and as early as possible. After I've picked up Commissioned Officer, I am going to be picking up the Shaping of the World, as well as all these minor nodes to increase the tier up chance. The keystone is just a travel node, don't worry about that. And once I've completed these wheels right here in the way that I have them right there, I'm going to pick up Shaping the Skies, and if I'm feeling particularly frisky with map progression, I'm also going to pick up Shaping the Mountain. This is the first step of my Atlas strat. I am a big fan of tower defense games, and Blight as such has always had a sweet spot in my heart. And this particular league in 3.25, Blight is getting massive changes that might make it incredibly profitable to farm. So we're going to focus on that because I want to enjoy myself. However, the order in which you spec this is entirely dependent on how good your character is. For example, sturdy construction makes the Blights easier, but perhaps you have a strong enough character or you got very lucky with annoyance, and you can already do them fairly easily. But perhaps you can do the normal ones, but not the juiced ones, because immune response is a very powerful node. So maybe you can then have sturdy construction and then push immune response, which is very simple. However, we're definitely not going to pick up Blight Spawn in the early, which is the final wheel, which we will take later once we have a stronger character, because defeating a lane filled with bosses is going to be very profitable, but also very difficult to do early. So don't pick that one up. What you do want to pick up early is to make sure you get Blights to begin with. Fungal Bloom is going to give us a massive chance on Blight in maps itself. We're going to have 100% in maps at some point, guaranteeing a Blight encounter in every single map we run, which is very, very good. On top of that, we're going to make sure the loot on average is a little bit better due to epidemiology. We also have the Fungal Horizons, which is very important because this is going to give us much more access to blighted maps, which are going to either be profitable to sell or profitable to run yourself, especially in the early stages once you have the anointments that make up for a good tactic, which are pretty much Freeze Tower Stun and Meteor Burning Ground for the record. On top of that, if you're having confidence and you think your character can handle it, make sure to also click Immune Response. However, if you feel like your character is a little too weak for that, don't spec it. It is a noticeable amount of juice, so you do want to ultimately get this, but if you're not ready yet, don't risk it, not worth it. And then also we have Templar Ingenuity, which is the new node, which is going to allow you to salvage your towers for more loot. And they also have better rewards depending on the different type of towers you have built, which is a very interesting sentiment. So I'm curious to find out how that's going to work out. But yes, first you want to focus on getting Blight, then perhaps you want to make Blight easier. And after that, you simply want to make sure that you have better blighted loot, because that's very important, right? But other than that, it is pretty self-explanatory. Once we have spec'd every map node as well as every blight node and we're confident, we are going to move over to Expedition. The reason why I'm taking Expedition second is because I know I can do blight without any gear. Expedition, however, can have a combination of mods that may be very difficult to beat on little to no gear. Yet blight with the right anointments, it can literally be done practically naked. So that's very comfortable there. But if you prefer Expedition first, that's definitely a thing you can do. I have done it in the past. It's very successful. And you can also actually skip Danny then and go with Rog. Rog is typically very stingy to me. I have a very complicated relationship with this man, but perhaps you have better experiences with him. And he does have the ability to give you really, really, really good gear in the early game. So you definitely may want to pursue that if that's more your thing, right? I'm going to stick with Danny though. He has never let me down. On top of that, we are going to force expedition on every single map without the need of any kind of scarab or anything. We're doing this by picking up the hunt for answers at the bottom, as well as, of course, a big chunk here with the expedition small notes, 8% chance leading to buried knowledge for better logbooks, which allows us to run those logbooks for the currency itself for better reroll chances, which is very, very nice because Tujin can be very kind in both divines, currency in general, or just like maybe a lucky drop here and there. He has given me mirror shards in the past, so the man is powerful. On top of that, though, the logbooks themselves are very lucrative in the early stages of a league, so you definitely want to pick this up early once you have the expeditions on your map. On top of that, we are going to juice it with ancient writings as well as distinguished demolitionist, as this allows us to get more explosive radius, more coverage, more units, more loot, right? You could also go for extreme archaeology. However, I find it to be quite difficult to take on an excessive amount of mods in the early stages of a game. We're definitely going to pick this up later once we are more established and have a character strong enough to deal with it. But prior to that, I want to be more specific about which mods I take. So I'm simply going to place the explosions manually as opposed to placing the giant nuke. And once we have done that, it is time to get to the end part of my Atlas strat. And this will be my preliminary endgame Atlas tree. As you can see, we've added a bunch of stuff. We cut a couple of things because they are no longer needed. But starting at the beginning, we have added an Eldritch Altar. I prefer the teal side because it doesn't involve a flask mod that drops meteors on your head. And I'm not going to have a Mage Blood this early. So I oftentimes go with the right side. On top of that, we have opted to get the middle circle and the outer circle for quantity and of course, quantity and rarity, which is just better loot. We have juiced up our Blight with Blight Spawn with the points made available through dropping the Keurig notes and more favorable pathing, as well as, of course, having access to Extreme Archaeology right here, which is going to allow us to make big nukes happen and faster expeditions hopefully occur. Now, everything else is pretty much the same beyond that, except for like the pathing that's a little bit more favorable. But as you can see, if you have enough gear and enough power, you may drop sturdy constructions as well and spend those points elsewhere. I am curious to see what other people are going to be doing, because this is not going to be my Atlas tree for the rest of the league, because I know there are also changes to, of course, the wonderful ultimatums. Those are having a lot of changes happening to them because now monsters drop loot and they might be affected by map mods, which might be a very fun way of getting a lot of artificial pack size on your map, right? Depending on how that interacts, but I don't know for sure how that works yet. On top of that, we have a lot of beyond potential right here. We also have, not to forget, the delirium over here, and the simulacrums have been changed to only be half as long while maintaining buffed loot, which is really, really good. So there's a lot of awesome stuff that we have access to without having to give up Blight. So if you don't like Expedition, I typically a week or two in drop Expedition. I might just move this over to Ultimatum, maybe some Delirium, maybe Beyond, maybe both, who knows. But this is going to be my preliminary actual Atlas tree. I will keep you guys posted in the description box below or future videos, so make sure to check out the channel. But yes, hopefully this inspired you to go forth and play some tower defense. It sure has done that for me. So thank you so much. Good luck on your league start, and I will see you in Rayclast. I'm out!